So another lesson for a newbie gardener: don't wait to trellis your beans.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun, side by side our fears are done.
It is a hot, bright, sunny day in Oregon. It's supposed to get up to 92 today, but you know, the garden work doesn't stop. You gotta do it. So I'm gonna do as much as I can before it gets too hot out today. I've got my sunscreen on, I've got my hat. I had water before I came out, and I'll have more when I go back in. I'm gonna work on this one bed back here, the bean bed, I call it. There are some greens and other things in there too, but I mentioned in my garden tour that the beans needed some sort of support, and since I hadn't planned for that because I thought they were bush style beans, I didn't already have something figured out. So we're gonna try something, maybe a couple somethings, we'll see, and see what we can figure out with just stuff that I have around the homestead, and see if we can get those beans untangled from each other and supported. In order to get these beans trellised up, I needed to harvest the beets that were right next to them. I didn't realize, because I'm a new gardener, how quickly the bean plants would grow, and they kind of shaded out the beets. The beets are 10 weeks out from planting, which is more than they should have needed to develop fully. I got a couple of little beets, mostly I got greens, and that's fine. I'm going to pull them all up, and I'll process the greens to save for later, and I'll snack on the few little beets that I got. Now I know better for next time. First of all, plant earlier. Second of all, make sure they don't get shaded out. But I needed to move them in order to do the trellising for the beans anyway. Okay, first thing we're going to try for these beans, and hopefully it will just work. Trying to use stuff that I have here, and trying to make it as simple as possible. And so what I came up with is I was actually watching actually several other channels, because I was looking for ideas for trellising. And nobody used this specifically, but something else that somebody used reminded me of it. So I'm actually going to use an IKEA drying rack. So normally I have a lot of these, like 6 or 8 of them, because I use them in my yarn dyeing business when the yarn or the spinning fiber has gone through the dyeing process. It needs to hang and drip dry. So I use these mostly for that, but business is a little dead right now because of the pandemic, and I won't need them. And actually, I probably only need to use one of these in the garden right now anyway, because I have plans for trellising and the materials for them in other places. It's just these beans that I hadn't planned for.
We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright.
So another lesson for a newbie gardener: don't wait to trellis your beans. Of course, I didn't know any better, but these things, trying to get them untangled from each other is quite the puzzle. Those of you who know me from the fiber arts world, if you've ever been hanging around when I'm hanging out in a yarn shop, you might know that I actually really enjoy detangling people's yarn. And everybody seems to think that's weird, but I actually really enjoy doing that, and I enjoy doing it in a group of people too. I find it to actually be a really great community building activity. In my bean patch, I'm by myself untangling bean vines from each other, but I have to imagine that there's a lot of people out there who probably wouldn't have the patience for this. They probably would be fine if I just kind of put a trellis over them and tied them on a few places, and they would grow up from there. But I really want to do better than that, so I'm gonna spend the time and try to get these all detangled. So I'm taking the opportunity while I'm in here detangling all these beans from each other to pull off any dead or dying leaves, anything that's really eaten up, checking for insects and pests, and weeding, pulling up any weeds that are underneath the canopy here, just getting it all cleaned up and nice. Okay, I got them mostly, if not all, untangled and separated from the PVC pipe. So Now I'm gonna wrestle with that thing and see if I can get it in there and get the beans restrung on what will be their new trellis. Wish me luck.
Sleep, hear the crickets, see the moon, side by side and through, no limit to what we can do. Oh, we know what we have, let's hold on tight, found what we're looking for in life, call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright. You and I, we got it. We don't need no more. Even in the hard times, you and I can weather any storm.
Okay, so getting all these beans sorted out and getting the drying rack in there and getting the beans retrained up them really did a number on my back. And it is hot out here today. But we got it done. I cleaned up a bunch of, dead leaves, old leaves in the bottom, pulled up any weeds. I actually pulled out 2 bean plants that they had been shaded out and really weren't growing. There should be plenty here, so I did the best I could getting them all trained in there. There's still like way too many beans in that space, but I'm just gonna leave them and see what happens. At least they have a place to grow now, and this rack actually works pretty well. I happen to have these on hand, so it didn't cost me anything. If you want to buy them, this is an IKEA drying rack. I think I paid $10 or $12 for them. They might be $12 or $15 now, but it will definitely hold several bean plants. You might not want to have as many as I have in here, which is quite a lot. But it probably would at least hold several nicely. And you might already have them laying around. If you're not using them, I'm betting that this is going to work as well as the $30 and $40 wire trellis, hinged trellises that I saw online when I went looking. Certainly it's not the cheapest thing. I could have used some branches and stuff, but since I already had this, I think this is probably a little sturdier. So we'll see as time goes on if this will work. I have no idea how far these beans will grow. I might have to train them up and down again. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. So that's all I've got for you today. Blessed be, friends. We'll see you on the next video.